Welcome to First Time Watching. One of the most well-known horror movies ever has to be Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of Stephen King's The Shining. And in this video, I am going to explain the ending, but also tell you the key differences between the book and the movie, and explain why Jack saying, "Here's Johnny," is just plain stupid. So please, like, subscribe, and hype up the video while I kick off with a movie recap of The Shining. Jack Torrance makes the drive up the long mountain path to finally reach the highly praised Overlook Hotel. The interview. Jack has an appointment with Mr. Ullman, the general manager. Back at the Torrance home, Wendy and Danny are eating. Danny doesn't want to go to the hotel, and neither does his imaginary friend Tony. But Wendy promises them they'll have a great time. Ullman tells the summer caretaker that Jack is going to take the winter shift. Jack was a teacher before, but he is a writer at heart. Ullman explains that every year between October and May the hotel is closed. It gets completely snowed in and will be unreachable. Jack's job will be to make sure the hotel doesn't deteriorate too much and to run the boiler to make sure the heat rotates through the hotel on a daily basis. It isn't a hard job. The only thing that can be demanding is the isolation. Jack tells him that's just what he needs to write as much as possible, and his wife and son will love it too. There is one little thing though. He has to disclose that a few years ago, one of the previous caretakers, one Charles Grady, killed his wife and 2 daughters with an axe and then killed himself at some point during the winter. They believe it happened because of the isolation. Jack assures him nothing like that will happen with him and his family. Back at home, Danny asks Tony if Jack got the job. Tony tells him he did and is about to call to tell Wendy. Then the phone rings and Jack tells Wendy the great news. Danny wants to know why Tony doesn't want to go to the hotel. Tony shows him an elevator gushing blood and twin girls, and then he collapses. Wendy calls the doctor over. She asks him about what happened in the bathroom, but he doesn't remember what happened, just that he was talking to Tony. The doctor believes nothing is wrong with Danny. She wants to know when Danny started talking to Tony, so Wendy tells her it was back in nursery school, around the time Danny dislocated his shoulder. Jack had been drinking and wasn't in the greatest mood, and Danny made a mess, so Jack pulled his arm a little harder than necessary. And that's the last day that Jack had a drop of alcohol. Closing day, the Torrance family arrives. Ullman gives Jack and his family the grand tour. He boasts to them about all the famous people that stayed in the hotel, while Danny plays in the game room. But then suddenly, there are the twin girls. Ullman shows them to their room and outside, past the hedge maze, the snowcat, and finally the gold ballroom, but no partying because there isn't any booze in the hotel during the winter. There, Ullman introduces them to Dick Halloran. He is the hotel's head chef. Danny joins them just in time for Dick to show Wendy and Danny the kitchen. He shows them the provisions for the winter. There is enough food to feed a family of 10. Halloran calls Danny Doc, which Wendy finds weird, so she asks him how he knows they call him Doc. He acts like he probably heard them call him that and proceeds with the tour. But Danny gets distracted. There is something strange about Dick. Ullman, Jack, and Bill show up and want to take Wendy to the basement, so Dick and Danny go and eat ice cream. He asks Danny if he knows why he knew his name is Doc. He remembers when he was little, his grandma and him would talk to each other without opening their mouths. She called it shining. There are more people who can do it, but Danny tells him he isn't supposed to talk about it. Tony told him he shouldn't. He asks Danny if Tony ever told him about the Overlook Hotel. He did show him something. So Danny asks Halloran if he is scared of the hotel. He tells him no, but some places are like people. Some shine and some don't, and the Overlook shines. Danny asks if there is something bad in the hotel. He tells him yes, but they are mostly memories. Then Danny asks about room 237. What is in room 237? Dick tells him nothing. There is nothing there, but he should stay out of it anyway. A month later, the Torrance family has settled into the hotel. Danny rides his bike around while Wendy treats Jack to breakfast in bed. And after eating, Jack said he was going to write, but he is actually procrastinating while Wendy plays with Danny outside and they go into the maze together. Tuesday, Wendy is multitasking in the kitchen while Danny bikes around again, but he stops at room 237 and tries to enter the room, but the vision of the twins stops him. That evening, Jack is finally writing when Wendy comes to check on him. He looks annoyed with her. She just wants to talk to her husband, but he is quite rude about wanting to finish his work. He makes up a new rule. Whenever he is in the typing room, she should stay the fuck away. It's a big fucking room. He should get himself a smaller room to type in. Saturday, Jack is writing again while Wendy tries to contact the nearby town of Sidewinder with little success. She tries the radio in Ullman's office and manages to reach the Forest Service. She asks them if the phone lines are down. He confirms that they will stay down till spring. They advise her to leave her radio on just in case. Danny bikes through the corridors and runs runs into the twins again. This time they say, "Hello, Danny, come play with us." But then he sees their corpses and they say, "Forever and ever." He closes his eyes and they are gone. He tells Tony he's scared. Tony reminds him of what Halloran said. They are just pictures in a book. Monday, Wendy and Danny are watching TV, but Danny's bored and wants his fire truck. Wendy tells him to be sure not to wake up Daddy. So Danny sneaks into the room and finds his father sitting upright on the bed. He looks at Danny and asks him to come sit with him. He wants to make sure that Danny has a good time, but Danny asks him if he feels okay. Jack tells him he is tired, but can't go to sleep. He has too much to do. So Danny asks him if he likes the hotel, and he tells the boy he loves it, that he wishes they could stay here forever. Danny asks if he would ever hurt Mommy or him. Jack wants to know if his mom put him up to the question, and when he denies it, he tells Danny he loves him and would never hurt him. Wednesday, Danny is playing with his cars when a ball rolls towards him, but there is no one who could have done it. As he walks in the direction of the ball, he finds room 237's door open. He calls for his mother, but she is downstairs in the basement checking the boiler. She hears a scream. It's Jack. He fell asleep next to the typewriter and is screaming in his sleep. She comes running and wakes him up. He is in a panic. He had the most terrible nightmare. He had a dream that he killed her and Danny. He cut them up in little pieces. He is losing his mind. Wendy tries to calm him down when Danny slowly walks into the room. There are marks all over his neck. It's like someone choked him. Wendy looks at Jack for answers about what happened to her son. She thinks he did it and backs away from him. Jack roams the hotel's halls in anger and enters the gold room. He sits down at the bar and wishes he could have just one glass of beer. And then there is a bartender named Lloyd. He greets Jack and asks him what it'll be. So Jack asks for a bottle of bourbon. He enjoys his drink and tells Lloyd that things could be better. He has some trouble with the old sperm bank upstairs. Lloyd agrees. Women can't live with them, can't live without them. Jack tells Lloyd he never touched the kid. He loves him and would do anything for that little fucker, but that bitch will never let him forget what happened. He hurt him once. It was an accident, and it was 3 years ago. One momentary loss of muscular coordination. Wendy comes running. She is glad she found him. There is someone else in the hotel with them. Some crazy woman tried to strangle Danny. Danny saw a woman in the bathtub. Jack asks her which room it was. Far away in Miami. Dick is watching the news when he gets a sudden feeling that something is wrong at the Overlook. Danny is foaming from the mouth just thinking about room 237, about what was in that bathroom. Jack enters the bathroom, and there is somebody in the bath. A beautiful naked woman gets up out of the tub and slowly walks towards him. Jack closes in on her. She touches him, and they kiss. But as they kiss, the woman ages and rots. The old lady with her saggy knockers laughs and walks towards him. Jack leaves the room and locks the door, but can hear her laugh as he leaves the hallway. That night, Dick tries to call the hotel, but there is no connection. Wendy lets Jack into the apartment and asks him if he found anything. He tells her no, nothing. He is sure Danny will be fine again in the morning, but there was nothing in that room. He tells her he thinks Danny might have done it to himself. Danny is still awake in his room and can see the word red rum on the door. Wendy begs Jack they should just grab Danny and go, but Jack doesn't want to go. Danny keeps seeing the bloody elevator. Jack is angry with Wendy. She never lets him follow his dreams. She always fucks up his life, and he storms out. Dick calls the Forest Service and hopes that they might go and check out if they are all okay at the Oval. They tell him they will. Jack makes his way to the gold room, and it sounds like there is a party going on. It's filled with people. He sits down with Lloyd to have another drink, but as he gets up, one of the waiters runs into Jack and spills a drink on him, so he leads him to the toilet to clean the stain. The man's name is Grady. Delbert Grady. Jack remembers that name, so he asks him if he used to be the caretaker of the hotel. He tells him no, so he asks if he's married. He tells him yes, a wife and 2 daughters. So Jack tells him he was the caretaker here. He saw his picture in the newspaper. He saw that he killed his family with an axe and blew his brains out afterwards. Grady doesn't remember that at all, and he tells Jack that he is the caretaker and that he has always been the caretaker. Grady asks him if he knows that his son is attempting to bring an outside party into this situation. Jack doesn't and asks who. So the man tells him it's a black man. Yeah, he doesn't say black man, but we all know what he says. He tells him his son has a great talent and he's attempting to use that talent against Jack's will. He is a very naughty boy. Jack blames his mom. She interferes. So Grady proposes they need a good talking to, perhaps a bit more. He tells Jack that his girls didn't like the Overlook, so he corrected them. And then he corrected his wife too. Wendy is planning her and Danny's escape when she hears Danny say the word red rum over and over. It's Tony, he tells her. Danny's not here. She tries to wake him up, but Danny can't wake up. Jack wanders the halls and hears the Forest Service on the radio, but instead of answering, he takes out some parts of the radio to ensure it stops working. Halloran calls the service again. The man tells him they weren't able to reach the Overlook, which worries worries Halloran even more. 8 a.m. Halloran is on a plane back to Denver. He calls a buddy of his to arrange a snowplow so that he can make his way up to the overlook. Wendy is watching cartoons with Tony and tells him she is going to speak to Jack for a little. She'll lock the door behind her. She grabs a bat and makes it down to the grand hall, but Jack isn't there. She reads the paper at his typewriter, and it reads, "All work, no play makes Jack a dull boy." He wrote this same sentence over and over. Jack lurks behind her and asks her how she likes his story. He keeps coming closer to her as she backs off. Danny can see the bloody elevator and red rum. Jack wants to discuss what they should do with Danny. Wendy tells him they should take him to a doctor. Jack asks her if she is concerned about him too. She tells him yes, but he doesn't believe she is concerned about his responsibilities. She begs him to stay away from her. He tells her he won't hurt her. He is just going to bash her brains in. He tells her to give the bat to him, but she keeps swinging it and hits him, and he tumbles down the stairs. So she drags him all the way to the kitchen and locks him in the cooler before he can regain consciousness. He begs her to let him out. They can act like nothing ever happened. He begs her for a doctor. He thinks he might have a concussion, but she doesn't trust him. She takes one of the knives and tells Jack she is going to take Danny to town on the snowcat. Jack laughs and tells her she's got a big surprise coming. She should go and check out the snowcat and radio, and she will understand what he means. Wendy makes her way outside and runs to the snowcat. A part has been cut out of the engine. 4 p.m. Jack is sleeping when someone knocks on the cooler door. It's Grady. He is disappointed in Jack for not taking care of business. Jack begs Grady for one more chance to prove himself, so he opens the door for him. Halloran is on his way in the snowplow to the overlook. Tony keeps saying red rum while Wendy is asleep. He grabs the knife from her nightstand. He writes the word on the door. He wakes up Wendy by screaming red rum in her face, and she looks in the mirror and finally understands that it isn't red rum he wrote, but murder backwards. Jack starts hacking into the door with an axe, so Wendy and Danny lock themselves into the bathroom, where she opens the little window to crawl out. Jack puts his face through the door and says he's home. Wendy lets Danny slide out of the window, but she doesn't fit. Then Jack hacks away at the bathroom door, while Wendy tells Danny to run. Wendy grabs the knife and waits for Jack. He puts his head through the door and says, "Here's Johnny." But when he grabs the doorknob, she stabs his hand with the knife. Dick is riding up to the overlook. Jack and Wendy can hear the snowplow, so Jack decides to leave Wendy alone and to take care of that first. Danny went back inside and hides in one of the cabinets in the kitchen. While Jack makes his way to the kitchen, Dick enters the hotel through the front door and runs into Jack in the lobby. He slams the axe right into Halloran's chest and then spots Danny crawling from the cabinet. He follows him out of the hotel and sees Danny run into the maze. Now, Danny has spent quite some time in this maze, so he knows it like the back of his hand, but it's Jack's first time in the maze. He follows Danny's footsteps in the snow to try and catch up. Meanwhile, Wendy is still looking for Danny and finds Dick lying on the floor. A ghost appears behind her and tells her it's a great party. Danny makes it to the middle of the maze, and Jack's still hot on his trail. Wendy runs to the lobby, and it has changed completely. It's filled with skeletons. Danny realizes what his dad is doing and retraces his footsteps to throw him off and crawls under the hedge to the other side. Wendy makes it to the elevator, and it opens, and the blood starts gushing out. Jack notices that the footprints suddenly stop while Jack wanders on Danny runs backwards. Wendy runs out of the hotel just as Danny makes it out of the maze. They get in Dick's snowplow as Jack collapses in the maze. They drive off while Jack screams. He freezes to death, and the next day in the gold room, there is a picture. Jack is in it. He is a part of the hotel's history now. So in the end, we see that Jack has fully lost it. Grady has convinced him that he should kill Danny and Wendy, and he has the axe to do it. But since he has spent the cold months sitting there in that lobby, typing the same sentence over and over again, Danny manages to outsmart him in the maze. Now, how does Danny do that? How is it that Dick knows that he should come? Who is this Tony guy? Why in God's name is there a guy in a dog costume that is sucking off some other guy? None of these things are even remotely explained in the movie. And for the fact that people absolutely love this movie, I have always thought it just has a lot of plot holes and feels really weird, especially if you haven't read the book. In the beginning of the movie, Dick quickly explains that Danny has something called the Shine, but doesn't really explain what it is, what he can do with it, and how to use it. So that's why I will answer the real questions this movie left right now. Stephen King does not like the movie. And honestly, after reading the book, like I mentioned before, I think it left out too much too. Okay, I'm going to rant all the points that are different between the book and the movie right now, and it's going to be a lot of criticism on the movie. So if this is your favorite movie, I am sorry. So first of all, Dick Halloran lives. They do not show it in The Shining, but he has to live because he is back in the sequel Dr. Sleep. They should have showed the fact that he is still alive. In the ending of the book, they beat the Overlook Hotel and the boiler overheats so the hotel explodes. It's actually Halloran who grabs Wendy and Danny and pulls them out just in time before the big boom happens. And even if they do not blow up the hotel, they needed to show Halloran alive. Then in the book, there is no maze. In the book, the maze are a bunch of hedge animals that Jack has to attend to, but they come to life and attack him. The hedge animals are some of the scariest things in the entire book, and they do not make it into the movie. The movie is called The Shining, and they spent like 2 minutes on it. In the book, Dick takes Danny aside and teaches him how to call Dick if he needs help. He begs him to come with him to Florida instead of staying. Danny uses the shine to call Dick to please come and help. The shine is the main reason why the hotel even wants to have Danny. In the book, Jack believes he is the chosen one, that he is special, and that is why the hotel took him. His jealousy turns into rage when he learns the hotel is just using him to get to Danny. None of that is mentioned in the movie. It's just Jack's decline into madness. The movie doesn't care to explain that Tony is the personification of Danny's shine. It's his future self warning him that he shouldn't go to the Overlook Hotel. And lastly, we get some random shot of a guy in a dog costume sucking some guy off. There is an entire unsettling chapter about this in the book. That guy is Roger, the former lover of the hotel's previous owner, Horace Derwent, who forced poor Roger into the costume to publicly humiliate him at a masquerade ball in front of all his friends and peers. I get that if all things from the book were added into the movie, Jack's alcoholism, the constant reminder of the time Jack dislocated Danny's shoulder, Jack's struggle with self-worth, and so on, that the movie would be 7 hours long. But I feel like the movie didn't capture the reason behind Jack's decline and did an absolutely horrible job at explaining the shine. So I personally think they should have called the movie The Overlook Hotel. Now, if you did not hate me already, I am now going to explain to you why the Here's Johnny line was stupid. First of all, it wasn't in the book. Jack Nicholson improvised the line as a reference to the famous introduction of Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show. But that line only would make sense for American audiences. So you're cutting yourself in the leg for using a line that doesn't make sense for a movie that you want to sell worldwide. So they should have showed a scene of them watching The Tonight Show earlier to make it make sense. His name is Jack, not Johnny. The only thing it got was Google searches from people wanting to know why he says that. But if you ask me, the only reason why that line is iconic is because it's iconically dumb. And that's a wrap. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.